There is a time and a place for everything. My name's John. Oh, no, my name's
I'm
Rob.
Yeah. You're Rob? I thought I was Rob.
Yeah, you could. Tonight.
Oh, okay.
You
gonna swap?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do that. We've only got 20 minutes. There's no point introducing us. If you want to find out about us, go and Google John Morehouse and Rob Sewell.
Yeah.
Here's a picture of some old rebel bikers.
Because we're rebels. We like to argue, right?
Yeah, we're also old.
And we're old. And we do forget things.
Yeah.
Like, who are you?
I'm John.
No, I'm John.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Shite.
I remember. So.
Did you forget how to click?
I did, because that's the last click that I need to do.
Sweet. We're kind of automated.
So the rule is,
there are no
you
rules.
should never use a cursor. Cursors are bad, John.
Cursors are great.
Hang on a minute. How are cursors great?
Because there's a time and place.
But if I've got a billion-row table and I use a cursor, it's going to iterate through. It's going to take forever to do it.
Yes, but that's the way I was taught.
No, but this is what they say. They say you should
I know
never,
they say that,
ever
but
use a cursor.
But there's a time and place, right?
Okay, so what's the time or the place?
Well, so let's say I have a billion-row table, and I need to update a row based off the value of the previous row.
Okay.
Can you do that in set-based?
I can't.
Easily.
No, not easily. No, not easily.
Could be difficult. Billion-row table could take a long time.
It's going to take a very long time.
Can you do that in PowerShell?
I could do that in PowerShell, for sure. It's going to take a long
Well,
time.
we're not talking about PowerShell.
Yeah.
We're talking about T-SQL.
We're talking about
SQL.
SQL. We're talking about databases.
So I should never use cursors.
Correct.
Why? What's your argument?
My argument is that you should never use cursors.
But I want to use cursors.
I understand this. But maybe there's a time when you could use a cursor.
Or do cursors? Well, yes. Again, like I said, if I have a billion-row table and I need to update a value to reflect the previous value of a row.
Ah.
So cursors make sense, right? I can't do that in set-based in T-SQL easily.
Okay, maybe in that scenario, perhaps. And maybe if you've only got like 5 tables and you need to do an operation.
Yeah, if I had a small database.
We can just do it quickly.
But anybody here got a big database, multi-terabytes?
We literally can't see any hands.
We can't. Yeah, we can. And we apologize up front for the glare off of this, right? I mean, I got a client that's got a 2 billion row table.
Yep.
Right.
I agree.
And sometimes I want to use cursors on that, but it doesn't perform well.
This is true.
Right? So I have to find different ways to iterate and go against that rule, unfortunately. So there is a time and place where cursors make sense.
There are time and place when cursors make sense.
When I can't do it set-based, right?
But I think it's just, it depends on the use case. And the use case for using cursors, pretty small.
I would concur. So you're telling me it depends?
I'm saying that it depends.
That seems like a new concept. It depends.
Hang on, have a look.
What? Huh? We switched. Shoot. Always avoiding triggers. You should always avoid triggers.
Oh, I must always avoid triggers. But actually, sometimes I might want to use a trigger.
No. I said no.
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 So this is absolutely banned and forbidden, ever.
Yes. Don't use triggers.
Okay, what's the problem with my trigger?
Well, triggers could be bad performance.
They could. The trigger isn't the bad performance, is it? Let's face it. Let's be honest. It's the thing that the trigger does might be a bad performance.
Have you ever seen a good trigger?
Sure.
What?
You could have a login trigger that checks whether you're actually out there and then kicks you off. There are other ways.
So you could use triggers to audit things.
Yes.
Maybe a rambunctious DBA. You want to audit a DBA to make sure that he or she are doing the right things.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's...
So there's a use case there.
I think that's a perfectly acceptable use case for a trigger.
Don't stand next to the speaker.
Oh, okay.
My bad.
That's all right. I'll let you off this time, but never use a trigger.
Okay, so always avoid triggers?
Always, yeah, that's the one, because that's what it says up there. It says always avoid triggers. And we've gone really quick through this 2.5 minutes. It's really
kind of.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yes. So what do you guys think? Always avoid triggers? Eh?
Nobody's got any views.
Anthony Yesentino says, eh?
Yeah. So how about an example of when a trigger did a bad thing?
Did a bad thing?
Yeah.
I have a customer, 2 billion row table, and they have a trigger on it.
Okay.
And performance goes
What is the
When
trigger
investment.
doing?
Lots of bad things, because there is no good trigger.
There is a good trigger.
Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah?
Fine.
We've done that. I think it's totally acceptable at a login level to be able to do a trigger. I think
agree.
when you're putting your trigger within your transaction, that's when things get bad.
Now you want to put transactions in a trigger?
I don't want. No, I definitely do not want.
What other bad things do you want to do with a trigger?
I-
Besides audit things.
Honestly, audit things are the only time that I have suggested that we use a trigger.
That's true. I can support that.
So the golden rule of always avoid a trigger, we've decided that the answer is actually
It depends.
It depends.
Right?
Yeah. So
We're kind of in agreement there?
well, the screen's changed.
Oh, now we have to move on.
Yeah. John, I'm a coder, right? I like to automate stuff. You should never, ever use the GUI.
But what if I want to use the GUI? What if I'm not as good a coder as you? Who here knows that Rob is an expert upon experts of PowerShell? Yeah, everybody raise your hands, because
Yeah.
Rob is the expert upon expert of PowerShells. When I have PowerShell problems, guess who I call? Him. So I like to use the GUI, but Rob says I can't use the GUI.
No, definitely. I mean, if you're going to do something on 1,000 instances, our friend,
Well, sure.
I want to update 1,700 instances. I want to use the GUI to do it because, I can use central management server.
But what if I
and can
have
go and do
a
it.
small environment and a couple servers, and I want to create a new database on a SQL server? I want to use the GUI.
Okay, but if we're creating new databases, we should be putting them in source control. We should be automating the creation. We're going to put them through test and through dev and through prod.
And I should have hair, but this is where we are. So I want to use the GUI when it makes sense,
Okay.
because I'm lazy.
Because you're efficient.
I can be efficient with the GUI.
So the problem is when you need to do something in PowerShell and you need to do it at 5 p.m. your time, I'm asleep.
You are sleeping. You would hate it if I woke you up.
Yeah, absolutely. So I won't answer until the next day. So if you actually needed to do something, then
I go get it from your GitHub
you'll
repo.
you'll get it from my GitHub repo. Or you'll do it in the GUI to get it done.
Or I do it in the GUI and get it done.
Right. Okay.
But there are times where the GUI can cause problems.
For sure. So in Azure, you cannot always use the GUI.
This is true.
Because many things are not available to you.
This is true. There are things in Azure, for example, if you use blob storage and you want to secure your SAS token, you put that token into an access policy, you have to use PowerShell to do that. You can't do it through the portal or through the GUI.
It's true. So you should never use the GUI. I think what we've decided is it depends. Yeah.
So are we back in agreement now?
I think we're in agreement again. It depends.
It depends?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you sure?
Definitely. I'm definitely sure.
Oh, there's Miss Erin.
Oh. So
we
you
were
should
expecting you.
always use extended events, right?
No.
No, right?
No.
Oh, you're going to argue that we should never use extended events?
Yes, and the fabulous Aaron Stellato is in the audience, and we actually had a nice discussion last night about this. I am team profiler, except it depends.
You've skipped to the end of the slide.
Why do I have to always use extended events?
But you always have to use extended events.
But I can use profiler faster.
Yes. GUI sucks.
The GUI is horrible for extended events.
So
It's not
horrible.
as good as profiler. For those of you who don't know, Aaron Stellato is an expert in extended events. We have had this argument. We have arm wrestled, her and I, on this very topic. I won, to tell you the truth. I won.
Mean.
I'm not going to.
I think that's mean.
You think it was mean that I won?
Yeah, no, I think it's mean that you should try and dominate with your strength when you should always use extended events. Don't use a profiler.
But profiler's easier.
But why do you have to do something that's easy? You should do things
Because I'm
properly.
lazy. I'm lazy.
Oh, yeah, we're back to that one again, aren't we? You're lazy.
Who else is a lazy DBA?
Hang on. Efficient.
Okay, I'm efficient.
how
I'm
many of
efficient.
you
Who
are
else is
efficient?
efficient?
Yeah. Okay,
Right?
so
I'm
maybe...
optimal. Who
Yeah.
said optimal? Oh, the lovely Arjuna said optimal.
So maybe everything's broken. You want me to jump onto that instance right away and tell you what's going, and I know that if I open up Profiler, I can find out what's going straight away. Is that okay if I use Profiler then?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah? Is it okay to use it all of the time to capture all of the information that's going on
No.
my instance to...
No.
No?
No.
Oh, so...
No, because Profiler can bring down a box, which we
Profiler
argued
can
about
bring
last
down a
night.
box? Extended.
Profiler can cause problems.
Okay. So I think, John...
I'm still Team Profiler.
I think, John, what we're saying is...
It
It depends.
Again.
Extended events can also bring down the box.
Shh. That's
Anyway.
not in the argument.
Jeffrey Snover said, you should never, ever use write host. He wishes it hadn't been put into PowerShell version 1, and every time you use it, you kill a kitten. And those are the words that he said.
That means I've killed a lot of kittens.
Yeah. So you should never, ever use write host.
Why? It's easy. I'm not a coder like you. Why can't I use write host?
So the reasons for not using write host are because what you're using inside PowerShell is an object. And as soon as you pass that object into something that formats it as a string, like write host, like format table, like format list, then what you're doing is you're ending up with some string. And then you end up having to do grep and sed and all of these wonderful Unix stuff that Anthony knows how to do. Yeah? Whereas PowerShell just takes all of that horrible pain away and lets you use the objects. So the reason for not using it is so that you can do your PowerShell better.
But so is there ever a time where I can use write host? What if I just want to output a simple string to the screen because I'm testing something?
It's perfectly acceptable when you are writing your code and you're testing to use write host to see where you are. There are better ways of debugging your code and getting verbose output, but it is a way. Here's another way where it's actually really useful. The output into systems like Azure DevOps, like Jenkins, they will give you the output into the logs that is the standard output, what has been written to host. So in those scenarios, you might want to actually log the code that you're writing for your Azure DevOps and use write host to do it because it will come out in these automation toolings. Logs.
So if I should do PowerShell better and deal with objects, like give me a syntax example of better than write host, like select object.
So write verbose. You have write PSF message from Frederick Weinman, who has delivered this whole logging system, which will enable you to choose where your logging comes out.
So what he's telling me is that if I don't use write host, I can be more efficient?
More efficient. Definitely more efficient.
So more efficient. So there are times where I should not use write host.
There are, definitely.
So we're back to it depends.
It depends. So John.
Ooh, yay.
I've heard, and I mean, I don't really understand this one, but apparently you should always avoid foreign keys that have cascade. Now, what does a foreign key with cascade do? I mean, it sounds pretty.
It does sound pretty. There's two types of cascades. There's an update cascade and a delete cascade. And if you have tables that have foreign keys, as you update the parent, that delete or that update operation will cascade its way down to the children tables.
That sounds perfect. Isn't that exactly what we want to do?
It causes problems.
It causes problems, okay. So we should never, ever do that. This is what you're telling me. Is that,
I'm saying that don't ever do that.
You should never, ever do that. There's never a situation where actually what we should do is avoid using these foreign keys with cascade.
Yes. Here's an example. I got an example for you. Years ago, I was a consultant for a previous shop. Had a client. Had a database with both update and delete cascades on their tables. They had performance issues, right?
Okay.
So application issues a delete statement. They had excess of 20 different foreign key cascadings downstream. And they couldn't figure out why their application wasn't performing well because every time they deleted a row in the children or the parent table, SQL Server had to cascade that change all the way down to 20 or so different tables. And their tables were kind of big, and it sucked. It causes problems.
Okay. So what about a scenario where I would want to use a foreign key with cascade?
So if you had a small system, you had 1 or 2 maybe foreign keys, I could maybe see a cascade. If you don't have an appropriate data model or a DBA to help you design the database a little better to be more efficient, you can maybe use cascades.
So what you're saying is that you actually need to understand the system that you're designing the solution for.
That would be
and
helpful.
Once you've made those decisions, that it depends which choice.
It seems like we keep coming back to. It really kind of depends on your scenario.
So all of these
Is that what you're saying?
all of these golden rules, all of these thou shalt nots, actually,
It depends.
it depends. Okay.
All of them.
All of them. So we've had some fun, and we've taken the mickey out of each other, and I hope what you take from this is actually, it depends. And the most important thing is that you understand what it depends on. The consultant says it depends. That's great. But actually, you need to know the reasons for doing these things, not the reasons not to do these things. And it depends on your knowledge. Because if you get your knowledge wrong, then that it depends can also be wrong.
What he said. I don't need to add anything because what he said was absolutely true. There's very few things in SQL Server that is absolutely set in stone. There's always edge cases, there's always circumstances that you and your organization will run into. And ask any consultant worth their salt, they'll tell you that exactly. That there's always an edge case for one thing or another. So always double check things, and it depends. Can we move forward? We have to wait. There we go.
We don't have to wait. We can carry on. So
We have 3 minutes left.
we have 3 minutes. So anybody wish to ask us anything? If not, most important, give us feedback. Most important thing about any feedback is tell us why.
I'm a big boy. He's not. I'll take it.
Yeah.
So please, feedback.
Anybody, anything to say?
Besides you.
Go for it.
I know you have things to say. The one and only Argenis Fernandez. And Denny Cherry and all sorts of other people. That's it. So no questions.
Well done, John.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you.
Good job, bro.
Good.
Thank you.